The man of God's awkward smile betrayed his surprise. The Syrian had returned and all his aides with him. It was the first time Elisha had seen this man in person. But he had looked different than how the messenger whom he had sent to meet him had described. Elisha had not put on his best garments, nor did he wait for Naaman, hat in hand, because he thought he could further his ministry. In fact, he did nothing the Syrian expected him to do, that he may enter his good graces. You see, Elisha knew what a leper was, what one stricken with the merciless disease of leprosy ought to look like, and the man standing before him really was no leper. He was clean. In fact, his skin was flawless, like that of a child. Although the Syrian spoke the right words, his actions betrayed his ignorance. If he now knew that there was no God in all of earth except in Israel, why then was Naaman offering a gift to him? Elisha knew who had healed Naaman. He had simply relayed a message to a desperate man willing to travel to the land of his enemies on the word of a little servant girl. Here he now stood, healed of his leprosy, attempting to show his gratitude not to the God who healed him, but to the messenger. Yes, Elisha knew what he was. He knew he was a prophet called of God. It is why he sent word to the king to have the Syrian sent to him, that he may know there was a prophet in Israel. By the same token, Elisha also knew that a prophet is merely a vessel, made valuable only by that which is poured into it. How could he receive a gift from the Syrian, well-intentioned as it might have been? No, he could not minimize God's involvement by receiving anything for himself. Could he have used what the Syrian was offering? Perhaps. Was Elisha rich? Probably not. But integrity is more important than personal gain. The awkward smile broke, and the man of God finally found the words he was looking for. Although his heart and mind had long been settled, he did not want to offend the Syrian again. It had already happened once that day, but he had to make himself understood. He had to be clear that there would be no debate on the matter. And he said, "As the Lord lives, before whom I stand, I will receive nothing." Elisha sent with conviction. It was not Naaman's first time before sages and mystics. He had long exhausted all other avenues before venturing into the land of Israel, and few of the others had graciously refused his gift as well. Even though they had not helped him out, he offered, and when insisting that he should give them something for their time, they gave in and took what he offered. Some even shamelessly asked for more. Surely this man was no different, Naaman thought. He had done what none other could. He had healed him. Surely he would not refuse just recompense. Maybe it's not enough. Maybe he's looking for a monthly commitment, a faith promise. But Naaman insisted that Elisha take what he had brought, perhaps thinking that he could send more once he got home. But the man of God rebuffed him again. The matter had been settled. Elisha wasn't just being coy. He wasn't angling for more. He really would receive nothing. Seeing that he could not persuade Elisha, Naaman asked if he could take some earth, that he may bring sacrifice upon it to the one true God. 2 mule loads of earth later, Naaman was ready to go, and Elisha said, "Go in peace." Within earshot of this entire exchange was a frustrated man named Gehazi. He chewed his fingernails to bloody stumps, trying to keep his emotions under control. He couldn't believe his ears. How could Elisha spare the Syrian? He was ripe for the plucking. He'd been healed, and that had to be worth something. Elisha might be a prophet and his master, but he sure didn't know how to run a business. He'd never taken a course on how to maximize your profits or how to capitalize on the gospel. But Gehazi would fix all that. As the Lord lives, Gehazi muttered, I will run after him and take something from him. Now, Gehazi was bright. So he did the math in his head while he ran, and he came to the conclusion that a real honest-to-goodness miracle must be worth at least a talent of silver and 2 changes of clothing. He's a Syrian, he's rich, and he just got healed of leprosy. That had to be worth some $23,000. That was the equivalent of the money in silver. Now, he ran. Gehazi ran until he caught up with Naaman and his entourage. The lie already established in his mind. It was a good lie. It was a believable lie. 2 young men had come from among the prophets in the mountains of Ephraim, and wouldn't you know it, Elisha had changed his mind and now wanted a few things, not for himself, but for the young men. Gehazi knew that if he asked, his request would have little weight or power to convince. But if he came in the name of his master, as one who was sent by the man of God, and spoke as though relaying a message from him, Naaman would be more inclined to open his purse strings. Naaman was grateful for what had just happened. Looking down at the pink skin of his newly healed hands, he couldn't help but give more than what was asked of him. Naaman bound 2 talents of silver in 2 bags rather than 1, and even sent 2 of his servants to carry Gehazi's ill-gotten loot back to the citadel. The plan had succeeded, or so Gehazi thought. He'd stashed the silver in the house, sent Naaman's servants back to their master, patted himself down, made himself look presentable, and went in to stand before his master. Broken-hearted, the hurt of betrayal etched on his weathered face, Elisha asked, "Where did you go, Gehazi?" In an instant, a million thoughts raced through Gehazi's mind. Does he smell the sweat? Am I flushed in the cheeks? Am I breathing heavy? He trusts me. He's getting on in years, and I can lie my way out of this. Your servant did not go anywhere, Gehazi answered, averting his gaze. Then Elisha spoke the words that felt like a hammer blow upon Gehazi's heart, crushing his dreams of easy money, healing lines, new garments, and human adulation. Did not my heart go with you when the man turned back from his chariot to meet you? Is it time to receive money and to receive clothing, olive groves and vineyards, sheep and oxen, male and female servants? Therefore the leprosy of Naaman shall cling to you and to your descendants forever. It was instantaneous. If not for the blotches and the boils and the smell of rotting flesh coming from him, Gehazi would not have believed that it could happen so suddenly. He went out from before the presence of the man of God, leprous and as white as snow. The consequences of greed, deceit, and disobedience are far-reaching. Though men aren't walking about these days with limbs being slowly eaten away by leprosy of the flesh, spiritual leprosy is just as hideous, but you need spiritual eyes to see it. See, greed eats away at the soul, and it deforms it. The tragedy is that today, Gehazi is allowed to roam free, and the Elishas are being silent.